Hey gamers, it's Kwing here, bringing you an extra special review from my childhood. The Force is strong with Super Star Wars. And yes, this marks the first LucasArts game to appear on the Wii's Virtual Console, and hopefully Zombies Ate My Neighbors is not far away. Anyway, Super Star Wars' story is loosely based after the movie The New Hope. The Empire has tracked down a rebel frigate and attacks it. During the Imperial boarding party, an escape pod leaves the rebel ship and crash lands on the planet Tatooine. Super Star Wars is a side-scrolling action-adventure game with some Mode 7 vehicle stages, timed levels, and an even more impressive Death Star Flight Sim Trench Run. My personal favorite about this game. This game has a total of 3 characters. Luke is the fastest, Han is the coolest, and Chewie is the strongest. The whole point of this game is to run and gun through the 11 exciting stages, blasting and exploding everything in your path, upgrading your blaster, and of course defeating the bosses. The gameplay is downright fantastic for this game. At the start of the game, players guide young Skywalker through the desert of Tatooine armed with only a blaster. In order to fire, you hold in the Y button, and much like the Contra games of old, you can shoot in multiple directions as well. Super does have its share of platforming elements too, and players jump with the B button. To perform a spin jump, you hold jump and up at the same time. This will cause your character to jump a little bit higher and to spin. Now the point of these levels is to collect the upgrades for your blaster so it'll be stronger, and just destroy everything in your path. To use a thermal detonator, you press the X button, and this is basically the super move of the game. Later in the game, players can use Luke's lightsaber. You bring out the saber with the A button. While not as strong as an upgraded blaster, it's pretty handy, especially when performing a spin jump. The Mode 7 stages are the vehicle part for this game, and they were ahead of their time for early 3D Star Wars dogfights. The controls are the same. The Y button shoots and you steer with the gamepad. This game was done back during a time when developers made sure that the gameplay was as smooth as glass, and they didn't worry about the visuals until later. However, like all games, this game is not without its share of problems. Well, very small. First and foremost, I hated the sand speeder levels with the utmost passion for living. While they may be visually appealing, I feel the controls suffer a lot. This stage requires you to shoot the Jawas, collect hearts, dodge pits whenever possible. Now this stage isn't next to impossible to beat, it's just really annoying. The stage is also really long, and it gets rather boring pretty fast. What makes the stage so hard for me is the refilling of your energy and gas while duking it out with some of the nasty hoverbike angry Jawas that appear randomly throughout the stage. No, thank you. Even as a kid, I positively hated the stage, and 17 years later, I still don't like it. The thing that annoys me the most in this game is Luke Skywalker's lightsaber. You can't use it to deflect lasers at all. You heard me. Up to this point, this was the most accurate Star Wars video game ever. I mean, it had the sound effects, it had everything. But the lightsaber just fails. I mean, sure, you don't really need the lightsaber in this game anyway, but it would be nice to actually be able to block laser blast. I mean, it's a lightsaber for crying out loud. That's what they do. And it doesn't make this game bad at all. It's like I said, it's more of an annoyance. This game is pretty tough too, so it will take a few tries in order to beat the game. But like most 16-bit games of old, you just have to memorize what you're supposed to do. And then the rest is like cake. Super Star Wars has a lot of incredibly awesome things going for it. First and foremost is the game had amazing music by Paul Webb. For an early 90s game, this was the closest any Star Wars game has ever come to being a great tribute to John Williams' musical score. It fit the game so perfectly, and the beautiful arrangements actually added to the gameplay. The sound effects are spot on as well, to the sounds of the blaster fire, lightsabers, and even the deaths of the Jawas. Lucasarts and JVC made sure this game was as authentic as possible. While the Mode 7 stages were pretty cool, the Death Star had to be my personal favorite. If you hated the sand speeder stages like me, then this is more reason to love the flying X-Wing stages. Now this paved the way to future X-Wing and TIE Fighter PC games. But the mode that blew everybody's mind in this game was the 3D Death Star Trench Run. Talk about wow! Considering all the early limitations of 16-bit games, this flight sim was so awesome that it really made gamers feel like they were barreling down the trench of the Death Star. I can't get any further talking about this game without going into the debug menu. In fact, throughout this review, you've seen me using it. Now players could replay the game using any character they wanted, on any stage, using Luke's lightsaber, blaster upgrades, and even skipping levels. Talk about genius! I mean, the game was already wickedly amazing without this, but this is what put the icing on the cake. At the title screen, input this code, AAAA-XBBBY-XXXXA-YYYB. A sound will play if you did it right. Then you press start to begin the game, and you know the code worked right if you can choose between Luke, Han, and Chewie. For the stage select, you want to press select on the second controller, and you will finish the stage automatically. Pressing L and R on controller 2 will also access the debug menu. How awesome was that? I loved being able to skip the levels I hated the most, like the sand speeder stages, to play the levels that I liked. As you can see, I mainly played this game using Luke, but occasionally I would switch to Han. Just being able to do the debug menu for this game was so awesome and made this game a must-have back then, and now that this game is on the Wii Virtual Console, this is a game you can afford not to be without. It has solid gameplay, 11 awesome levels, great music and sound, it's very challenging, 3 difficulty settings, 3 characters, the debug menu, Mode 7 vehicle stages, a 3D flight sim Death Star trench run, and most importantly, it was so addicting and it's a wicked fun game. That being said, Game Nights gives Super Star Wars an 8.5 out of 10, and this was the closest thing 17 years ago that gamers could come to playing a great Star Wars video game. And after all that time, the game has aged incredibly well. But being that this is the first game in the series, there are still 2 more Super Star Wars reviews to come, and I hope you will enjoy those very soon. As always, thanks so much for watching another of my Game Nights video reviews. Be sure to keep checking back for more of Swag's interviews, news, and please listen to our radio show every week. This is Kwing as always saying God bless and happy gaming. Until we meet again, gamers. See ya.